Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia Virtual Farm to Table program. My name is Lena Wen, and I'm the 4-H Extension Agent for Fauquier County. And in this educational program, we aim to highlight Virginia agriculture and farm to table connections. And this program is brought to you by Virginia Cooperative Extension, which is an educational outreach program of Virginia's land-grant universities, Virginia Tech, and Virginia State University. Virginia Cooperative Extension's educational programs are delivered through a network of faculty at these two universities, 108 county and city offices, 11 agricultural research and extension centers, and 6 4-H educational centers. So I encourage you all to participate in your local VCE programs if you have not already. And in today's session, we're taking a slightly different approach. We're going to be focusing on ornamentals, and we're going to start with Dr. Joyce Latimer, who is a greenhouse crops extension specialist. She's going to give us an overview of the greenhouse and nursery industry in Virginia with an emphasis on increasing beauty in and around our home. And then Barbara Leshin, who is a Virginia Tech floral design expert. She's going to demonstrate designing and building a floral centerpiece for your dining table. So I'm going to serve as our Q&A monitor for today. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put those into the Q&A box, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible. So I will go ahead and hand it over to Joyce.
Thank you, Lena. Yes, as Lena said, the Farm to Table Conference has been more about the food side of our Virginia agriculture. But we wanted to show you a little bit more about Virginia's agriculture and tell you about the greenhouse and nursery industry. And certainly beautifying your home, beautifying your table, certainly adds to your food enjoyment. So I want to start with just a little bit of what's available. And I'm going to talk mostly about the production of ornamental plants here in Virginia, but a little bit more on marketing and utilization. Virginia has over 1,100 farms that are producing ornamentals. And those products have a farm gate value of over $328 million. That's a significant amount of money, and that's just the farm gate value. That's not the utilization and the other aspects of using those products. They currently rank 5th in Virginia in terms of farm gate value of agricultural crops. So it's a big industry in the state. And if you add in the garden centers, the florists, the landscape design, installation, maintenance, hardscape design, all of the things that go into bringing this beauty to your home, into your home, and around your home, it is a really big industry here in Virginia. So I want to share a little bit more about this with you. Starting with just the production scales in Virginia, we are really blessed in this area with a good growing environment, both for greenhouse crops and for outdoor production. We have a lot of large greenhouse operations have moved to Virginia because of that good condition. We're not too cold, not too hot. We're in that basically that East Coast corridor for major population marketing of their products. So we have a very wide scale of operations here in Virginia.
We're basically talking about the scale. We're talking about small growers that deal mostly with local markets, and they have a greater diversity of products. You may find some unique things like, topiaries and things that a larger operation may not put the time into. On the other side of this continuum, we have some very, very large producers of ornamentals here in Virginia. So, for example, this is a picture of Battlefield Farms, and they're located in Rapidan. They are the number 26 in terms of greenhouse space in the U.S., according to the Greenhouse Grower Survey. And they typically, most of these large operations are wholesale growers, and they're typically serving the entire East Coast. So we have a very wide range here in Virginia. We also have some really outstanding nurseries. You probably heard that Saunders Brothers Nurseries just assisted in the selection, design, and installation of the boxwoods in the renovation of the Rose Garden at the White House. So Saunders Brothers is one of our long-term, large family operation, and it's been around. They're located in Piney River, been here in Virginia for a very long time. So excellent nurseries, excellent greenhouses, and a lot of different products that are out there, basically to beautify your home. Most of you probably think of spring planting. I mean, that basically getting into the garden outdoors in the spring. That's when we start really thinking about what we can do with plants and flowers, how we can beautify our home. And almost everybody starts with bedding plants, whether it's in the flat or pots that you're going to keep, that you're going to put in the ground, or ones that you're going to put into containers. And we'll tell you that petunias are still the #1 crop for bedding plants in the spring. And the variety of petunias out there is just amazing. You'll see them all in all kinds of hanging baskets, and you'll see mixed hanging baskets like you see here. And a lot of our plantings are going into containers now. A lot of homeowners have less space, or they have less time. Of course, now with the pandemic, we're seeing a little more effort on the outdoors landscape beds, but a lot of containers are being developed, mixed containers that you can change with the seasons, or you can run all year long. They can be more formal containers, such as these clay pots, where we're seeing a lot of interest in more children-focused containers and activities that the kids can help you with in the landscape. So containers, bedding plants, spring plants, those are all really big parts of beautifying your home. When you talk about beautifying your home, we can talk about the outdoors, we can talk about the foundation plantings, we can talk about the newest in the shrubs and trees that are available. We can talk about herbaceous perennials and also the annuals. And you're basically showing that public front to your house. But there's also a lot of interest now in developing private spaces, your solitude, your own enhanced landscape that makes you happy. And the thing about all of these choices is that we have Virginia growers that can supply the product or even the construction and installation of these kinds of facilities for you. So when we talk about what's available, I mentioned bedding plants, wide range of growers. Almost all of our farm operations in the ornamentals in Virginia do grow bedding plants. It is the #1 spring crop. We also have a lot of producers of shrubs and trees, a variety of sizes, both in terms of the size of operations, as well as the size of the plant material that's available. So there are lots of options there. And the lower side, you'll see herbaceous perennials. We have some huge nurseries growing such a diversity of herbaceous perennials. And these make such a nice permanent addition to your home landscape. They also make nice containers, fit in very nicely with some mixed annuals and mixed shrubs. So there's just so many options out there. And we also have growers producing ornamental grasses, huge selection of ornamental grasses and a local producer. So we just have lots of options here in Virginia. And of course, I bet a lot of you looked at growing your own produce this spring. With the pandemic and more people spending time at home and having children at home, and sometimes just a little bit worried about food security and not really wanting to go out to the grocery for anything you didn't have to. So a lot of people were interested in producing their own fresh produce. And of course, tomato was the #1 thing out there. But it's been a wonderful season for the growers who are selling transplants or plant starts, as well as seeds for homeowners, and they're providing a great amount of advice and support to people who are new to growing their own produce, and showing you that you can also do a lot of that in containers. You don't necessarily need to have a big area to grow food for yourself and your family, but just a little bit of expertise and a lot of trial and error, and you can make some great produce at home. So we are serving your table here too. You can also beautify your indoor space. There are a lot of options with dish gardens on succulents and other plants, such as our orchid over here with anthurium. A lot of our growers are growing potted plants, such as these potted oriental lilies or Gerbera daisies. There are just so many options for bringing plant materials indoors to beautify your own home. We have a few unique operations here in Virginia that I wanted to point out. We have an operation in King George called Bloomia USA that does cut tulips. And we don't have a lot of cut tulip producers in the United States at all. But this one is a very large operation. They wholesale material to florists. They also wholesale out to the grocery stores like Wegmans and Kroger's, Whole Foods, a lot of these will carry their bouquets. You can see the Virginia growing tulips tag down here, but they also do pro flowers, flower delivery of cut tulips. So a lot of operation there, and it's, like I said, it's a unique operation here in Virginia. We have another one that deals with live tulips, and this is Bloom Maker, located in Waynesboro, and they actually grow their tulips in these crates, as you can see, without any soil, and then the plants are transplanted into these glass vases. Basically, a group of plants is set into the vase, and you have live tulips to bloom out for you. They've actually expanded into daffodils and hyacinths, and now they're starting into amaryllis. Now these are, again, mostly wholesale. They are, again, marketed through mostly the grocery stores, such as your Kroger's, and your Costco actually handles some of these, and Wegmans. So these are great operations, great gift ideas, and certainly nice to have around your own home. And these will actually market, basically, I think it's January through May. They can't grow them into the heat of the summer, but it's a very long season that they're available for your home decorations. We have quite a few orchid growers here in Virginia, and they're basically scattered throughout the state. I show you this one because I visited there. This is Color Orchids in Stevensburg. And they have a wide selection, grow them in the greenhouse there. They actually sell them in pots, in ornament or containers that are ornamental. And they do some dish gardens with their orchids as well. And these, again, are retailed through the grocery stores, but they also sell on Amazon. One of the few growers we have here in the state that's doing a lot with the Amazon marketplace. But again, orchids really have come up to, I think they're still number 2 in the potted plant market. They're really still only behind poinsettias in terms of the number of potted plants sold here in the US. It's a US number. So we also have a lot of seasonal and holiday production. I mentioned poinsettias. It's still the number 1 potted plant crop. Again, you'll see those grown by very large growers and again by very small growers. So they're available in a wide range of cultivars, all kinds of colors now, although red is still number 1. That probably doesn't surprise you. We also have a lot of growers that do a big job, a good job of putting together containers, seasonal containers, particularly in the fall and the spring. This is a collection of fall containers based on mums, your garden mums. We're in the height of the season now with garden mums and starting those decorations for fall in terms of baskets and mixing them with other plant materials. Your Virginia producers can give you all kinds of collections here. And the variety that you'll see in fall color is just amazing. Mums come in all kinds of colors. Pair them up with pansies and some of your pumpkins and fall decorations. And we've also got ornamental cabbages and kales. There's just a wide assortment of plant material that we can use for fall decoration. And of course, with the Halloween season coming on, you really want to provide a lot of those kinds of decorations around your home. Make it inviting for yourself and your Halloween trick-or-treaters. There's just lots of options here. I also wanted to mention, and Barbara's going to talk a little more about this, we have quite a few farms, small farms mostly, there are some big ones, but located across the state of Virginia, producing specialty cut flowers. And a specialty cut flower is one that's not typically coming out of South America. This is a plant that grows, it doesn't necessarily have to be a local plant, but it doesn't ship well. So it's one that you want to use local to where you're producing it. And you'll typically find those available in your local grocery stores. Sometimes the florists will have them. Sometimes community supported agriculture. Some of your CSAs will have flowers along with their vegetables. You'll see them at farmers markets. And some of these growers will actually offer wedding services. The bouquet here is from Harmony Harvest Farm, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about. And she specializes in wedding flower designs. And you can find a lot of information on some of these operations by going to your Buy Fresh, Buy Local chapter. And we'll have a link for that later in the resource page. But I wanted to mention Harmony Harvest Farms. And like I said, there are a lot of farms across Virginia. I happen to know Jessica. I knew her when she was working as a sales rep with Wetzel back when it was still Wetzel. And she was looking for something more, something she could do with her family, something she could do, just make more of a contribution. And she has really found her mark with cut flowers. And Jessica loves having her family involved in the operation. And she's the flower girl, you know, and she has won awards on her wedding designs. She's just doing an excellent job. She's located in Weir's Cave up in the Shenandoah Valley. And she actually has now about 20 acres. The farm is about 20 acres. That's about 9 field plots, and she's got 7 of these greenhouses that she's growing in as well. So it's just a wonderful collection of specialty cut flowers. You can just look at the diversity of flowers that's available for local Virginia farms. So there's a lot of options here, a lot of things that you can do at home. And I'm going to turn it over to Barbara so she can show you what some of those are.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara. I come from a family of florists, and I was actually teaching Spanish at Virginia Tech, and I said the words, the professor that was teaching floral design was retiring, and I said the words, oh, I would love his job. And so here I am. But I had to backtrack, and I actually got certified in floral design, and now I teach 80 students a semester here at Virginia Tech in floral design. So as Joyce mentioned, the farm to table movement has really created this flower movement too. And there was actually a woman, Deborah Prinzing, and she started what we call the slow flower movement. And so it's all kind of been simultaneously with this farm to table thing. And so the growth of local flowers is just, and no pun intended, you know, just grown. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a local grower, and I'm going to show you how to make a design out of this bundle that you just pick up at your farmer's market. There's more you can do than just sticking it into a vase. Our local farmer's market grower, the biggest one that we have around here, is called Stonecrop Farms. I don't know if you guys will be able to see their little logo. They're right here in Giles County, and they're one of the ones, as Joyce mentioned, that also does weddings. So they have a big venue. They grow a lot of flowers. They sell at the farmer's market. They sell in the local stores around here and do weddings, and they're really well known for those weddings. So this is the bouquet that I'm going to work with here in a minute. I also wanted to show you this. This is something I made yesterday because it said that I was going to show you how to make a centerpiece. So in the link, there is a link to how to make this centerpiece for a table. I went and I got a locally grown pumpkin and some flowers from Stonecrop Farms and just pulled a bundle out like this one. And this is what I created yesterday. And there is a link on how to make this. You'll have to get a little creative with your personal bundle. Won't have necessarily the flowers that I found in Stonecrop, but just play with it, have fun. The thing about creating things with flowers is just practice and having fun, and don't get too hard on yourself. So if you want to see how to make this table arrangement here, there is a link that I'm not quite sure where it is. Lena might be able to tell you, but there is a link somewhere. All right, I'm gonna get started. And this is probably the most popular vase that might be laying around your house. This and probably some of those big ones that you've gotten flowers in, like from Valentine's or something. So I'm going to use here, I have a friend, and I don't know if you can see behind me, there are 2 huge buckets of dahlias. And he used to work here at Virginia Tech, and he grew dahlias for a hobby. And he still delivers them to the floral design lab for us. And so I'm going to use these flowers just grown up the road in somebody's backyard. And I'm going to show you how you would create a nice little bud vase here. So hopefully everybody can see and hear, and I'll get started with this bud vase. one of the things, like we usually what we do is we take flowers like this and then we just shove them down in, right? You can think a little more about design. So I'm going to take these 3 flowers, and in design, we'd actually look at this lighter color flower as a flower that should be taller in the design, and this darker colored flower here as it should be lower in the design. And then I have kind of a mid-range one that I'm going to make sure is in the middle of the design. And in a design sense, the reason that is that the darker colors feel heavier. So you always want your darker colors at the bottom and your lighter flowers at the top. And I'm going to work on that. And since this is my taller one, I'm going to go ahead and just make a cut at the bottom. I'm using a floral knife. You can use some snips that are made specifically for cutting flowers, but the knife actually creates a better cut and a sharper cut and doesn't pinch any of that xylem in the flower. So I put my lighter one in. Now I'm going to come down here and put the darker one lower in the design. So all I'm doing is measuring, and then I mark where I'm going to make the cut, and then I'm going to stick that flower in there. And I like where that one is. I could take it out and make another cut, make it lower, but I like where it is. And I know I want this orange one here in the middle. So the same thing, I'm going to just put it there where I want it. Look and make a cut, mark where I want to make a cut. And then I'm going to stick that one in. And this stem is so crooked, it's gonna embarrass me, I know. Let's see. All right. Woo. So I think since that stem was the crooked one, I'm going to pull that lower one out. I'm going to cut it again. I'm going to try again. All right. I knew that stem was going to embarrass me and not make it look as easy as it is. All right, there we go. Can you see that? I took 3 flowers that you could just purchase anywhere. You're growing in your garden. And already this design looks a little nicer than just sticking a bunch of flowers down in your vase, right? So I did that. Went out. I have a little bit of solidago here. I'm going to take 3 stems of the solidago. Notice that on everything, I'm cleaning the leaves at the bottom. And I'm just going to add this solidago into the vase for a little bit of extra color and interest right in there. The reason I'm cleaning the leaves off the bottom of these stems is because you don't want all that stuff that's in the water is what starts to create that stinky smell and creating bacteria in your water. So you don't want that. So clean anything that's below the rim of your vase off and only have clean stems down in the vase. I do this solidago, I really should have cleaned it a little bit better, this one here. We'll pull some of the leaves off. There we go. Just went out and got some leaves off a shrub. I'm going to pull all the bottom leaves off. With here, I am going to use my snips. And the leaves can be a little taller than the flowers. It can be a little shorter than the flowers. And I'm going to make them, put the leaves in the background, just like that. And hopefully you guys can see this. A nice, simple design with just 3 flowers that you could find at a market and actually a weed from my garden and a stem from a shrub. A little bit nicer than just putting a bunch of flowers into a vase. So hopefully you could follow that and make something like that. All right. If you're not sure about who's growing flowers locally around you, I know Joyce has included some links that'll be at the end of the program, or just put into Google. Tell me, how much time do I have left? Have enough time here?
Yeah, you're good. We have like 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect. That is perfect. So just put into Google local flowers around me. And it's amazing how many things will pop up. And you might already know of some local growers. But just put that into your search engine and you'll find people around you that are growing flowers. Go to your local farmer's market, which is what I did. I knew Stone Crop was down there and I just went to the local farmer's market and picked out the 2 bundles, the one that I worked with this pumpkin and this bundle from today. I paid $15 for this bundle. Same for the bundle that I put into the pumpkin. And if you went to buy a pumpkin design in a store, you're gonna pay 50 bucks for that. So you can make that yourself, definitely. All right. I have no idea what's in here. So I have some marigolds, some celosia, looks like some zinnia. Oh, and I'm a florist and I don't know what this purple one is. Eek. Joyce? Can you tell? No, I can't. I can't tell. It's hard to see from there. All right, so I take out my bundle and I'm going to put all the like flowers together. So I've put my zinnias together, my marigolds together. I have one dahlia in here. I'll put it over by itself. All my greenery together, all my little beautiful purple flowers that I've seen them before and I should know the name of, and don't. And the other thing that you want to do while you're setting them all out is go ahead and clean them all. Now, of course, you could buy your bundle and just stick it in a vase, right? That's the easy way. That's fine. But again, I'm going to show you a little bit of how to design with them. Something that you do want to do is you do want to change out your water. Every day would be ideal, but about every other day, it'd be nice to change out your water. You do and should recut the stems. Obviously, that means then you need to get smaller and smaller vases as you keep cutting the stems. And keep a bouquet of flowers in a cooler, drier, cooler part of your home. Don't set it in like a south window and the flowers just don't like that heat. What I'm doing now, as I said, is I'm just cleaning all of these off, getting all my botanicals ready to work with. Now at home, oh my gosh, the greenery is a type of mint and it smells so good. At home, you're gonna have some sort of container, most likely a mason jar, maybe a leftover container from the flowers that were given to you. And I'm gonna use this fancier one that I have here. Always work directly into water. Never put an arrangement into a dry vase and add water later. Your flowers, as soon as you make a cut, are already drying up. The stems are drying up and the xylem's getting clogged. So you always want to make those cuts and put them directly into a vase. So my trick for making a nice vase design is to actually hold the flowers. I'm going to take this big dahlia that they included as the only one and make that my center flower. And I'm going to hold it just gently in my hand. And I'm going to take another flower and there's a mantra: flower to the right, stem to the left, spin. And I'm going to keep picking up the different flowers, flower to the right, stem to the left, spin. Flower to the right, stem to the left, spin. And I'm going to keep working my way down my line of flowers here, and I'm even going to add the greenery in. And so flower to the right, stem to the left, it's just the tip of the greenery, spin. Flower to the right, stem to the left, spin, add some more greenery, flower to the right, stem to the left, spin. You notice I'm creating this really cool spiral here. Flower to the right, stem to the left, spin. Keeping this going. I'm going to speed up here and just still the same mantra, doing the same thing. I'm dispersing my colors so that I'm not putting all the color in one spot. I'm working in here, trying to work in the different colors, making sure they are dispersed nicely. I have so many red ones that it's kind of hard to do that, but I'm working it. So you see how I'm creating this nice spiral, this nice, and it really is just taking your flowers, one to the flower to the right, stem to the left, and spinning around. So this way, instead of just taking your flowers and sticking them in a vase, you have a little more design. It looks a lot like your bridal bouquet. This is how we make a hand-tied bridal bouquet too, by the way. So see how that's really nice there? And another flower here. We have this spiral, and if I did everything correctly, so for a bridal bouquet, I would actually tie it like I'm doing right now. For this vase, I'm not going to, but this is for purposes for you guys to see. If you do your spiral correctly, you take your snips and you cut and you open it up, okay, it should stand. Oh, my rubber band wasn't tight enough. It should stand on its own. I know I'm kind of holding it there, but that's how you know if you did your spiral correctly. My rubber band wasn't tight enough. Sorry about that. Now, you would measure this by, you want your flowers a little bit higher than the vase. So I'm going to make the stems be 1.5 the size of the vase. So I'm going to make my cut right there. So I took the vase, and it's 1.5 the length of the vase. So my cut is right about here. I should be able to put it in. It's still a little too tall. I can tell that if I'm going to let go of the flowers, they're just going to open up. The fewer the flowers you have, the shorter your stems should be. The more flowers you have, the longer your stems can be. Try that again. Much better. Now when I put these in, I fluff them up a little bit. I have this nice design that has a little more to it than just sticking the flowers in the vase. So that was a quick how-to. I even think it needs to be a little bit shorter, so I'm gonna do it again. That was a quick how-to on making a hand-tied bouquet or a twisted bouquet like I just did with this one, and a little quick how-to on making a bud vase design rather than just sticking your flowers into a vase. Again, I'd like to thank Stonecrop Farms, who grows beautiful flowers around here. I encourage you to look for your local grower and see who's growing flowers, who's growing pumpkins, and get more creative with your flowers that you're bringing home. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Those are gorgeous. There were 3 people that thought the purple flower is ageratum.
Thank
Did I
you.
say that right? So I'm going to go ahead and share just this final screen with some resources, which I will also. Are y'all seeing that right screen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
a little short.
And then, uh-oh, my screen sharing stopped, sorry. Try that again. Okay, so if there are any questions, we will go ahead and take those now as well. I'll go ahead and send these out in an email. I'll also send out the link to the video that Barbara talked about so you can learn how to make that pumpkin arrangement. And while we just wait a moment to see if there are any questions, I'll just let you know that next week, our farm to table session will focus on grains. So we're gonna have some speakers from the Common Grain Alliance to tell us a little bit about the grain industry in Virginia. We're gonna take a virtual tour of Ardent Mills, which is a mill in Culpeper. And then we're gonna see how to make some scones out of 100% Virginia grown grains. So it should be an exciting session. So one person wanted me to go back to the resources, so I can do that. Okay, and we do have some questions. All right. So the first question is, do you have any help or suggestions for vertical planting? I'm concerned about putting it on a wall inside and watering it and keeping the wall dry.
I know there are systems out there that are more self-contained. It's not something I've tried myself. I have seen there's an operation in Culpeper that does these commercially, like in office buildings and stuff. I can find the contact information for them if you'd like to ask that question of them. But I know they've used some self-contained systems that basically have a buffer between the system and the wall so that it does stay drier. Beyond that, I'm afraid I don't know anything about that.
Okay. And the next question is there a good reference for preservatives for the water in these fresh cut flowers?
So Joyce might know a little more than I do. I use a commercial preservative even for my local flowers. I have it by the 3-gallon buckets here. So I just use, it's the same formula as those packets that come in the store-bought flowers. And I use a scoop per gallon, and I preserve my locally grown flowers with the same preservative that I do with my wholesale flowers. But I don't know if there's anything different for locally grown flowers.
Do you have a good suggestion for someone that doesn't necessarily need a 3-gallon bucket but wants a little bit for home?
Yeah, so go to a florist or even Kroger or Wegmans and to their flower section, and they sell the preservative they sell liquid preservative in from I think Miracle Grow or somebody like that. Just ask them and they'll point you to it. And if they don't have it, they will give you free packets from there. They have so many of them, but they do sell it liquid preservative. And I know our Kroger's does anyway.
Okay.
There is a home formula. Okay. Take you take a liter of Sprite, a liter of water, and a tablespoon of bleach. Mix it all together, and that is a home preservative recipe. Sprite, water, and a tablespoon of bleach. You just need the sugar for the food, the bleach for the bacteria side, and then the water to dilute it all down.
Okay, cool. That's a great tip. So I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. But thank you, Joyce and Barbara, for sharing with us so much wonderful information about flowers and how to make our homes a little bit more beautiful. So for the participants, when you close out today's session, you will get a pop-up asking you to take a quick survey to give us some feedback about the program. So if you have any feedback to give us, that would be great. And I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lena.